Should Liverpool fans in any way be concerned?
They should be
Salah
concerned.
hasn't been tied down yet.
They should be concerned because, for me, he's their most valuable player, as in the amount of goals he brings to the team consistently over the last 3 or 4 years. I was at the game at Norwich. He was the best player at Carrow Road, the best player on the pitch. Scored his goal, was involved in another goal, and he is integral to the way that team play.
Yeah.
Going forward, I think he's become a bit of a leader. He stayed on his feet. I think the new directives with the officiating, he's jumped on that and realises if there's a little bit of contact, he's not going to get the foul. He's staying on his feet. He is a great player and he's a great goal scorer. And unless Liverpool want to risk losing him, they've got to give him top dollar because I feel he deserves it. I think he's their best player. I really do. And
what's top dollar, Trev?
Well, you look at what the top earning player is at
De Bruyne,
Liverpool.
385 grand a week.
We're talking about Liverpool. So the top player at Liverpool would be Van Dijk, maybe. He's got to be superseding that.
He's going to get more than Van Dijk.
I think so. He's a goal scorer. It's much more difficult to defend than to score goals than it is to do anything else on the football pitch. And he does that easily.
Simon, when you're John W. Henry or Tom Werner at Liverpool and you see this individual, Rami Abbas Issa, saying on social media, a little veiled message to you guys, I hope you're watching, about my guy Salah.
Yeah.
Do you pay the blindest bit of attention?
Oh, no, you say, thank God for bringing it to my attention. I'm so glad that you were there because I was missing that one. I hadn't realised that potentially we'd need to talk to him, and I hadn't realised that he'd scored all these amount of goals, and I hadn't realised that he had intrinsic value to the playing squad. So good job that you pointed it out. He's got 2 years left on his contract. Liverpool know what they're doing. Liverpool will know the value of this player. Jurgen Klopp will know the value of his player. Doesn't need his agent to point it out if he is indeed being vitriolic. You know, and perhaps at this moment in time, Salah's agent is asking for far too much, possibly, and that's why they're not having a conversation with him. Because ultimately, agents change, circumstances change. No one stays with an agent forever. They've got 2-year retainers on agency before they have to renew, and maybe it's a raft of things. But one thing you can imagine is that Liverpool get the memo from their manager that Mohamed Salah is a key component, or maybe he doesn't think he is. And if he doesn't think he is, he'll change it. But there's no reason to believe that Jurgen Klopp would be saying, I tell you what, let's be relaxed about him. Let's let him run down to the last year so everyone can have our pants down and he can go for nothing. Yeah, all right. Buzz off, you silly little twerp.
He's on 200 grand a week, Simon.
I know, he's struggling with that, yeah.
We understand at this time. I mean, if you are Werner, if you are Henry, you know, how much more do you increase that by? Or do you? I mean, what is their mindset about Mo Salah at this time?
It depends where the value of Mo Salah is in the game. Is Mo Salah, because Mo Salah has no resale value now, unless you're going to sell him now, which they're not, right? So they're getting to the point where if they deal with him for another long-term contract, there's no resale value in Mohamed Salah. So what you're doing is you're buying him for the intrinsic value he has on the pitch with no downside protection against wanting to sell him on. So then it becomes, okay, I haven't got to buy someone else to replace Salah, so I factor out the fact that I haven't got to pay 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 million quid to bring someone in to replace him. So that means that I haven't got that cost implication, but I've got to do some of his wages. How long is a piece of string? How much do you want to give these players? How much do they need to be paid? How much more do they have to be given? The challenge is when you've got Harry Kane going 150 million quid and he goes for £300,000 a week, or Messi gets whatever he gets, every other player that considers himself to be a world-class player is underpaid by that logic. And the unfortunate thing for it is as much as people might have a view on my agenda, there is just not a footballer that's worth 200 grand a week. And the only reason they are is because they're able to get it and people are stupid enough to pay it. So they're going to have to pay Mohamed Salah precisely what he wants.
I mean, you two are poles apart on this. You Trevor, say they should burst the bank for him.
Well, I don't think they should burst the bank, but I think he should be
Make him the highest paid player at the club,
I think he should be, yeah, because he's the most important player, because he scores the majority of their goals. He carries a threat with his pace, which he's not always going to have, so that will start to deteriorate as he gets older, you know, into your 32, 33s, 29. So, listen, as Simon's just said, we agree he's an integral part of that team, or I think he is. I think Jurgen Klopp will think that, and so will the owners, and the fans certainly know that. If you've seen his display on Saturday, if they don't want him to let his contract drag out until he's got a year to go and all of a sudden Mo Salah's in charge and his agent, who sounds like a bit of an Herbert, coming out with that tweet, which is just unnecessary. And there's no need for it, because obviously the club know what Mo Salah's situation is.
The problem is when you're going to pay David De Gea, I know you're comparing apples with oranges and clubs with clubs, but Liverpool and Man United operate in the same space, right? Because they're competing for the same level. When you pay David De Gea 375 grand a week,
There you go.
How can you argue that, as much as I don't want to, how can you argue that he shouldn't be getting the same money as David De Gea, who right now couldn't catch a cold?
And that, to be honest, is Salah's agent's argument.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that it is. And Liverpool will fully understand the reality of what the value that Mohamed Salah has to them, and they will do their very best to try and meet his expectations. But they'll never meet the expectations of the agent, because the agent will look at it and see, A, what's in this for me? B, how can I? He's not going to try and see Liverpool's point and say, well, hang on, we've got a dressing room, we've got a playing value of players that we're prepared to pay. No, this is what he should be paid.
But Simon, by the very nature of this conversation, does this not demonstrate that we are as far away as we could ever be from a wage cap coming in?
No, I don't think it does. I think it calls even louder with the clarity of the need to control this. Because if you don't control, I mean, we are now beginning to talk. We are beginning to accept the terminology net, right? So that we're being force-fed this diet of 6 million net, right? That when it's 6 million net, well, that's what the market, but that's actually 10. Because once upon a time it was, this player's on 200 grand a week. Now it's 200 grand a week net. The word net's been slipped in and everyone's accepted it, right? Because that means it's 40% more than actually it's being declared. So when you look at Tammy Abrahams, if he is on £5 or £6 million a year, which we're being told is the net figure, he's on £10 million a year. And we're looking at players now and we're saying that, when we sit back and think about it, David De Gea is getting paid £20 million a year to be a goalkeeper at Manchester United. And he's not a very good one right now. And it beggars belief, because once upon a time, elite people got paid elite money. And some people right now are getting paid money that they're not meriting. But this is the landscape. And the idea now, and this is why you've got European Super Leagues and all this ugly stuff, because you can't stop this runaway train. You can't stop, and I'll be careful now because Trevor's right to correct me, you can't stop Middle Eastern, Russian money that's coming in and driven this up with the Chelseas and the Man Cities and the PSGs. And the only way you can stop it is if people at the very top of the game, and that's supposedly UEFA, say, right, that's enough now. The ecosystem needs to be protected. The football game needs to be stabilised. We're putting a salary cap in. Doesn't mean you can't pay someone 400 grand a week, but you've got to pay someone 10 grand a week as well. You've got to balance it out. The Americans do it in the MLS, and I know that the MLS is not the same as us, and it doesn't have relegation in it, and it doesn't represent the same quality. But if there's method in their madness, there should be method in ours.
I agree with that.
Quite an industry it is, Trevor.
It's got to be. There's got to be a level.
Yeah.
You know, and then if the broadcasting rights come in and that level is changed, then maybe the level of
they'll get more revenue and they'll get bigger wages.
Yeah,
but it's got to be within a certain
70% of turnover. The businesses are profitable. They don't need owners that suddenly fall out of favour or run out of money. Yeah. And the businesses can be self-sustainable. And 70% of whatever the turnover is what you pay somebody. If you get more TV money, the players get more money.